Welcome to Formula World. I'm your host Dylan Shelley, and here's what's on this episode. First up on Formula World, Alonso wins Le Mans. Fernando Alonso has won the 24-hour of Le Mans, which puts him 2/3 of the way to completing his goal of achieving motorsports Triple Crown. Alonso and his teammates have now won the opening 2 rounds of the World Endurance Championship, and the Spaniard is very clearly chuffed about it. This is one of the most important victories of my life. Being competitive with specialist drivers makes me feel very proud that I am able to exploit the ability I have to adapt to cars. I will sleep with this trophy as I did with the one from Spa. Alonso has mentioned multiple times that he is interested in attaining the Triple Crown, and now he sees it as an attractive option. The Triple Crown is certainly an attractive goal now. You become a better and more complete driver because of it. In the Formula 1, you're completely dependent on the performance of the team. For Indy, you have to be able to beat a oval racing specialist, or like Le Mans, get to the level of endurance guys. F1 in the Stone Age. Former F1 Supremo Bernie Ecclestone was very open about his distaste of social media, believing it was merely a fad. But F1's new owners are the complete opposite, embracing social media and pushing their brand heavily through many online channels. Mercedes driver Lewis Hamilton has come out backing the new owners, but believes F1 has a lot of work to do to make up for lost ground under Bernie. Really, Formula 1 has been in the Stone Age compared to NFL and soccer and all big other sports, and we're trying to catch up, but it's a long process. I think it's crazy to think Formula 1 is still so unknown in so many territories, yet it's global and on TV. There's more to be done, but I think they're doing the right steps. Having more races in the US is a good thing. I'm looking forward to it, but the actual racing needs to be super exciting still. Leclerc surprised by big jump. Rookie Sauber driver Charles Leclerc has had a meteoric rise to F1 and was widely tipped to do very well in the sport, but not as many believed he'd get off to such a strong start. But Leclerc himself says that he didn't anticipate how big the step up to F1 was, but has relished the challenge. Even being in this sport since I was 3, I did not expect the jump to be so big. The amount of procedures and changes in driving style, just everything is a whole step forward. It was difficult for me at the beginning. Maybe what I would have wished is to understand the car a bit quicker, but 2, let's say 3 races to learn completely the car is not huge. Mercedes not used to losing. Since the turbo hybrid era began, Mercedes have dominated the sport. But 2017 showed signs that their dominance may not be steadfast. And Red Bull advisor Helmut Marko believes that Mercedes aren't used to losing and that this is their biggest weakness. 3 years ago, it was almost impossible to challenge Mercedes, but you saw last year that their dominance has started to show their cracks. Ferrari has had a big step in winter with their engine, while we now have the best chassis on the grid. Mercedes can no longer make the difference with the engine, and that hurts them. They are used to driving away from the start. This season they need more than that. Mercedes are not used to losing races, and that is their biggest weakness this season. And Mercedes boss Toto Wolff has admitted that the team isn't as confident as they have been in the past, and that they need to respond to the wake-up calls being dished to them. I'm the opposite of confident. I think this is, we've had it in the past, a major wake-up call for every single member of the team. Everybody needs to assess how to improve performance in order to optimize on those marginal gains, because those marginal gains are going to make all of the difference. Magnussen can show how good he is. Kevin Magnussen came into F1 as a young McLaren driver with a big reputation, and in his debut race earned what has become his only podium finish of his career thus far. His current boss at Haas, Gunther Steiner, believes that the 25-year-old Dane is in the best form of his life and has had the following to say about him. I think that it's the first time in F1 that he can show how good a driver he is. I think he showed it when he drove in F3 and all the minor series how good he is. And I think that it's the first time he had a real chance with a decent car to show what he can do. I personally think it's just his confidence. He's in a good spot with his thinking, with his driving. I find it quite simple why this is happening. He's just showed what he can do when everything around him works like this. He's comfortable, and that is what the outcome is. It's simpler than we all think it is. Number of races on the edge. Liberty Media is looking to expand the F1 calendar, with the earliest of additions looking to be Miami as soon as next season, with Vietnam and Denmark penciled shortly after that. This expansion has some of the team bosses concerned over the logistics of such a calendar, and Force India's deputy team principal Bob Fernley had the following to say about it. You have to look at the human logistics in a lot of this. 20 races, we're very much on the edge of being able to maintain it with one crew, one travelling crew in particular. So once you start moving in beyond that, occasionally we can go to 21 and then go back to 19 and we can cope with all of that. But once you get a sustained amount of races that are going well up into the 20s, we're going to have to bring in revolving crews, and there's a huge cost to that. And these are the things we've got to look at, so there needs to be just a look at how we're going to do it logistically. VSC More Bulletproof. Sebastian Vettel was one of the drivers who pointed out a potential flaw in the virtual safety car system that allowed drivers to take advantage of the system and gain lap time. At the time, FIA race director Charlie Whiting denied such a possibility, but has since done a 180 and now concedes that there is a problem, but that it's being taken care of. It's the calculation that the system does when it looks at the speed of every car every 50 metres and is based on the distance from the timing line. So if you can shorten that, you can gain a tiny fraction. The way we've calculated it with our software guys is you can possibly gain about 150 milliseconds per lap. And in Formula 1, that's worth having. But that is the extent of it, as far as it was explained to me by our software people. We can rectify it and make it a bit more bulletproof. Tyres to blame for boring races? It was an undoubtedly dull Canadian Grand Prix, and many people have already complained about it being a boring race, and most people put the lack of overtaking down to the dirty air produced by modern F1 cars. But Force India driver Sergio Perez has a slightly different take on it. I don't understand why it was so impossible to overtake. The cars are heavier this year because of the halo, and that doesn't help. But the pace difference you need for an overtake is enormous. I think that as long as Pirelli does nothing dramatic, we'll probably always have boring races. Fast feed. The Danish Grand Prix is in doubt as the Danish finance minister points out the government needs backing from the city. Williams' chief technical director Paddy Lowe has come out saying that F1 has almost eliminated disadvantages for heavy drivers. Red Bull driver Max Verstappen is looking forward to racing on the unknown Paul Ricard circuit. Renault boss Cyril Abiteboul says his team's home race at Paul Ricard carries an added level of emotion for the team. The Belgian Grand Prix has just signed a 3-year deal taking it through to the end of 2021. Rumours suggest renowned designer Adrian Newey has been in contact with Renault over a potential switch once his current contract at Red Bull expires at the end of the year. Cyril Abiteboul believes that Red Bull could extract more performance with a different fuel. And former F1 world champion Jenson Button says if it were up to him, he would have left F1 during the middle of his 2016 season. Formula World fans react, checkered flag. In the previous episode of Formula World, I asked whether you thought the checkered flag should become automated, and the results are in. As you can see, a massive 76% of you do not think the checkered flag should become an automated system, while 17% don't care either way. 7% of you do still think it should become automated. Is Magnussen in career best form? Be sure to vote in the poll in the top right hand corner of this video and let me know what you think in the comments. And if you like this video, feel free to subscribe and check out my other videos for all the latest in the world of Formula 1.